WBAI 99.5 FM. I'm Julianna Forlano here for Waking Up on WBAI. No King in the studio today. It's just me and Michael and Alana. So we still have a full house, even though King's not here. I'm happy to be back. We're going to be talking today about gun sense in America with Shannon Watts, founder of Moms Demand Action. We're also going to be talking about those debates. Did you see those debates? Well, it's Debate 2.0. All of that and more. Stay tuned. Welcome to the show, everybody. I'm so happy to be back. I went on a little vacation with my family. You know what they say about going on vacation with young children. It's just basically yelling at your kids in another state. So that kidding. We went to Ocean City, Maryland, which was lovely beach town, except in a lot of those boardwalk stores, they were selling MAGA hats, a lot of them. I mean, a lot. There's a whole chain called Sun Stations. If you're listening from down there, I'm sure you know. If you've been down there, I'm sure you know. And they are a big right-wing selling trinkets made in China and shells and T-shirts and all the stuff that you usually get on a boardwalk, but also MAGA hats. It only took us 4 hours to get there, and it was so MAGA that I think I'm not going to leave northern New Jersey or Long Island ever again. No, I mean, I just was kind of surprised at just how out there it is, the Trump support. I guess it is a southern state, but I was pretty surprised at just how close, much closer than I feel comfortable with. And there was a slight, there's just an air of tension in the air. Even at the beach, I did what I normally do, which is I go and I'm talking to people. You know, the kids, they run around, they see someone else has a toy and they want to play with it, that kind of thing. So I'm talking to people and I'm sliding out things that would sort of signal my liberalism. Things like, well, that climate change or, what Trump said about, because we're near Baltimore, what Trump said, or close enough, what Trump said about Baltimore, that kind of thing. And not a lot of responses there. So either folks, it was something, let me say. Right here in New York City, I'm happy to be home. Missed y'all. It's 75 degrees here, going up to 88 degrees. And fair today. Thursday is going to be 88 degrees and a little bit cloudy, but also mostly fair. Friday, 86 degrees. We're hovering right around that mid to upper 80s all the way through. Like as far as the eye can see in the calendar. Literally, I can see all the way to Wednesday the 14th in the weather calendar, and that's basically the same amount of temperatures. Little rain mixed in there. I think they're looking at some thunderstorms possible tonight, so take care. Today is going to be the warmest day of the rest of the week. Saturday's the coolest day, but only by a couple of degrees. It's going to be full on sunny on Monday, so there's going to be clouds up until then, but not a lot of rain. I love how they're giving me a mosquito index, by the way. The mosquito index is at moderate mosquito activity for our listening area, unless you are, of course, in the front walk stoop area of my street. Then it's very high. You can literally have to bat those mosquitoes away in order to get in and out of your houses. I hope you had a nice weekend. I know it's Wednesday, so to talk about the weekend is a little bit behind the schedule, but hey, here we are. Did you watch those debates last night? They were on so late. If you're up this morning and you watched those debates last night, I hope you have a nice, strong cup of Joe or tea, depending on what you like to drink. We have some clips here. What can I tell you? It was on very late. Elizabeth Warren kicked some Buttigieg, let's say. She kicked some butt. She was fabulous. Bernie Sanders got the most talking time, 17 minutes altogether. And Bernie and Elizabeth were true to their word about how they were not going to attack each other. In fact, it was everybody else who was attacking Bernie and Elizabeth, that the great divide between, centrist Democrats and what do they call them? Progressive radical Democrats? What should we call them? I don't think progressive is enough. I think good idea Democrats might be a way to go. And they were, a lot of these other candidates attacked, including Bullock. They basically attacked Warren and Bernie for their ideas, their big platform ideas that are incredibly popular. And so let's take a look at Bernie came out swinging. Let's take a listen to a little bit of Bernie.
And Jake, your question is a Republican talking point. At the end of the day, and by the way, and Jake, your question is a Republican talking point. At the end of the day, and by the way, the healthcare industry will be advertising tonight on this program.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Warren, it's your turn.
Oh, can I complete that, please?
Your time is up, 30 seconds.
They will be advertising tonight with that talking point.
Senator Warren.
At Democratic candidates and forcing that, it's not a down the line questioning. So the Montana governor, Steve Bullock, made a splash at his first opportunity in the debate stage. He got 10 minutes and 41 seconds, which is a lot. He entered the presidential race, later than almost all the other candidates. He missed the first debate. So this was his first big showing. He got more time than Beto O'Rourke, who I wish would just drop out, to be quite honest with you. Just lackluster candidate. I don't know if people feel bad if they already gave him money, but that's how I feel. Senator Klobuchar spoke for 10 minutes and 18 seconds, and these are folks who have those similar sort of progressive, pragmatic stances. There was John Delaney from Maryland. He had a few more opportunities to address questions from the moderators than the other candidates, other than Warren and Sanders, but he used those chances to speak for just 9 minutes and 58 seconds. Anyway, the big splash here is that Marianne Williamson said something that was very interesting that will probably keep her on the debate stage, maybe possibly into the fall. She certainly has a loyal following, and some of those candidacy rules are about getting a number of contributions, and she's going over that threshold given her large following. She said, she warned of dark psychic forces in Trump's America. She got only 8 minutes and 44 seconds to talk, but she basically broke the internet with that statement. Everyone went out to check out dark psychic forces. Why do you think that is? You can feel free to call me and we can talk about that. 212-209-2877. I know she's using the language in which she is steeped, which I was pleased to see her doing that. I mean, she is, a spiritualist, shall we say, kind of like a minister. So I thought in the last debate she didn't use enough minister talk, and now that she's a minister running, she should use the minister talk, and she did. So I was very pleased with that, and I think that idea that there are dark psychic forces underlying Trump's administration is something that everyone is feeling. We're feeling this sort of, oh my God, what is all this hate? What is all this darkness? And for somebody to put a label on that in such a public way, I mean, her own audiences are probably hearing that, but in such a public manner, I thought that was really interesting, and I'm happy to take your calls about that. Also, we got a clip here from Buttigieg. By the way, Buttigieg is still raising so much money. I guess he's someone's favorite somewhere, but his polls are showing that he's a little lagging behind a little bit. So here's a clip about what he said.
It is time to stop worrying. It is time to stop worrying about what the Republicans will say. Look,
yes.
if it's true that if we embrace a far left agenda, they're going to say we're a bunch of crazy socialists. If we embrace a conservative agenda, you know what they're going to do? They're going to say we're a bunch of crazy socialists. So let's just stand up for the right policy, go out there and defend it.
You lost me and then you had me. Okay. We are going to take your calls in the second half of this program and talk about everything that we're talking about in this program. So you can put your phone on speed dial at 212-209-2877. But we're going to turn to our we're going to turn to our second segment of the day. You're listening to WBAI, by the way, Waking Up. I'm Julianna Forlano, no king in the studio with us today. Shannon Watts is coming on the show in a little bit. She is the founder of Moms Demand Action. And over the weekend, as you know, well, this week alone, there were just mass shootings all across the country. So far in 2019, there have been more mass shootings than days in the year. Every time one of these tragedies occurs, we wind up asking ourselves what can be done. They did discuss that on the debates last night, and I'm going to ask our guest, who's coming on a little bit, Shannon Watts, again, founder of Moms Demand Action, what she thought about what happened in the debate. But people know what happened in the Garlic Festival. That was it was one of the news stories that made national news. But I think it is important to point out another story. So there were some moms in Chicago who basically spent their time fighting against gun violence. They were shot and killed. 48 people were shot over the weekend in Chicago. 8 of them didn't survive. And 2 women, Chantel Grant and Andrea Stoudemire, were among them. These were young mothers. They were advocates against gun violence. They belonged to this group called MASK, which stands for Mothers and Men Against Senseless Killings. And these volunteers used to go out and just basically stand and occupy the corner of 75th Street and Stewart Avenue in Inglewood in Chicago. If you've ever been out there, that's a corner that the group has been working to reclaim from gun violence. And on Friday night, someone fired shots into that crowd, possibly at a man who was standing nearby. And Stoudemire and Grant were killed, 36 years old and 26 years old. Multiple gunshot wounds. Really sad. Senseless killings. They all have children, 3 and 4 children, 7 kids left without moms. So I just wanted to take a brief moment to honor the fact that they put their lives on the line to stop gun violence. And we will talk to Shannon Watts about that. I do want to play you a clip now. This is about Japan and Japan's gun laws and why Japan has so much less violence than the United States, even proportionally. They have a different way of looking at things. And Alex Sekwa has made a beautiful piece. I'm going to play it for you here now.
Japan is an interesting outlier when it comes to gun violence. They're about 1/3 of the size of the US, and they have the lowest rate of gun violence in the developed world. It is so peaceful there that police often run out of things to do. Seriously, in 2015, only 6 shots in total were fired by police in all of Japan. Japan's success is the result of several factors, including a history of wars, Japanese culture, and their current gun laws. The general feeling among Japanese citizens is that war and violence is terrible for the country, so they should do everything in their power to avoid going back to that. As a result, Japanese gun laws start with the premise that guns should not have a role in civilian society. That idea even extends into how the police operates. Instead of arms training, the police spends many hours training in martial arts techniques. If they're dealing with a violent or drunk person, sometimes they will use these huge futons to basically roll up the person like a burrito and take them back to the station until they calm down. From the civilian side, if a person wants to buy a gun, they have every right to do so, but the process is very complex and thorough. To buy a gun in Japan, first you have to take a day-long class and pass a written exam. Then you have to take a shooting range test and pass it with 95% accuracy or higher. Then you have to go to a hospital and pass a mental health exam and drug test. And lastly, you have to pass a comprehensive background check that makes sure you don't have any extremist or criminal associations. Only then you'll be allowed to purchase a shotgun or an air rifle, but no handguns or semi-automatic weapons, which are completely banned for civilians. Did I mention you have to keep the gun and ammo stored separately and under lock and key and agree to yearly police inspections? Yeah, Japan does not mess around when it comes to guns. And the results speak for themselves. It's incredibly hard for would-be mass shooters to get their hands on weapons that can cause a lot of harm. The consequence is that total gun deaths in Japan are often in the single digits, compared to 33,000 annually in the United States. So what can you do? Even though there are cultural differences that make comparisons complicated, there's a lot we can learn from Japan. Mental health exams and more robust background checks, for starters, would immediately make it harder for potential mass shooters to arm themselves. The freedom to bear arms is currently costing us 33,000 lives per year. If we want to actually solve this problem, we have to do better than offer thoughts and prayers. Peace.
Waking Up, I'm Julianna Forlano. We have Shannon Watts with us today. She is the founder of Moms Demand Action. And you may know that we are in our pledge drive, and we were able, Shannon was gracious enough to give us some copies of her book that we could give you if you become if you are able to pledge this morning to support WBAI. Her book is Fight Like a Mother: How a Grassroots Movement Took on the Gun Lobby and Why Women Will Change the World. Now, you may remember that we had Shannon on before. She was a stay-at-home mom, and she was basically folding laundry when the Sandy Hook Elementary School shooting flashed across the television screen. She was heartbroken, fed up, as we all were. And, Fight Like a Mother, her book is this, it's riveting, I must say. It's an account of her cry for change, and it grew into a national movement. And not only does she talk about guns and gun rights, but really this book is about grassroots movement that you can do. And, when I was reading this book, I realized, boy, I could do a lot while I'm taking care of a toddler. You got to multitask. And so there's this thought like, oh, I'm so busy. And I'm sure we all have that thought, regardless of how old your kids are. If you have kids, or if you're, whatever you're doing, all of us, especially in the New York, New Jersey area, are so busy. But this book talks about how you can make an enormous amount of change with just the time that you have to throw into it. And then, of course, people become like community. They become family to each other, and things grow out of there. So this is just such a beautiful book. Cecile Richards called it a page turner. It's basically overflowing with moving stories and practical advice, which I absolutely love. And of course, Shannon has a really courageous and down-to-earth approach. And it's like sitting with Shannon, who we're going to get to do that in a minute or two after I give you the phone line to our station, 516-620-3602. That is the pledge line. This book is our gift to you and Shannon's gift to you for a pledge of $75 this morning. If you can make your pledge for $75 this morning to WBAI, we will be able to send you a beautiful copy of this book. And it's a hardcover. And if you're watching on the live stream, you can see how beautiful the book is with the Moms Demand Action and Gun Sense voters. They're doing a protest at the top. It's just gorgeous. So you can get that book for a gift of $75. Please do. 516-620-3602. We need this kind of hope and support as much as we can, especially right now, given what's happened recently. But of course, these shootings and things have been going on, as we said, there's more shootings this year than there have been days in the year. So this book will help you and is a bulwark against that. 516-620-3602. And that pledge of $75 will get you this book as a gift, and it will help support the station that brings you this kind of information. Now, thank you very much, Shannon, for joining us today, and thanks for sitting through our fundraising efforts here. I really appreciate you being on the show with us today.
Of course.
Well, there's a lot to talk about. We had you scheduled for weeks in advance. And now here we are, a presidential debate where gun sense was front and center, shootings of children and shootings of, I said before you came on the show about the shooting in Chicago of the moms who were working against gun violence in their city. Where shall we start?
Well, first of all, these gun violence tragedies do continue to occur, and that is in part because we don't have strong enough gun laws in this country. But it's so important for people to remember that we are winning, to not be hopeless, to not be cynical, because that is dangerous. It leads to inaction. And it's important to remember how much we've won. The fact that we've closed the background check loophole in 21 states, that we've disarmed domestic abusers in 28 states, that we've passed something called the red flag law in 17 states. And on top of that, every year we kill over 1,000 bad NRA bills. We have a track record of killing about 90% of their bills every single year in state houses.
So what are they trying to do?
Oh, well,
What are the
They're
most
trying to arm
egregious things they're
teachers.
they're
They
trying to
want to
do?
arm teachers very badly because arming just a fraction of America's 4 million teachers would certainly result in a windfall for gun manufacturers. They want to put guns on college campuses. They want to pass something called permitless carry, which means that you don't need any training or background check to carry a hidden loaded handgun in public. And they want to obviously pass stand your ground laws, which endanger people of color in particular.
Well, I'm glad we are doing this work. I became a member of Moms Demand Action after you were on the phone with us
Yay!
last time, so I'm very excited about that. And I hope that our listening audience, our community here at WBAI also goes on to do that. It doesn't really take that much. Some of your attitude in the book is like, you can do this on the side. It doesn't have to be, it doesn't have to consume your whole life. And I think sometimes people pick one issue. I'll pick the environment and I'll just do that. But we're fighting on so many fronts that it can seem overwhelming. But what you say in the book is that you can do it on the side. And that attitude has changed my whole.
Oh, I'm so glad to hear that because, activism really is like drips on a rock. It all matters. There are very few issues in this country that you're going to get involved in and change overnight. And if you look at, for example, Mothers Against Drunk Driving, it took them over a decade to pass all the laws they needed to change the culture in this country around drunk driving. And there's really no other issue that's any different. You have to build political power. You have to create a grassroots movement that can go toe-to-toe with whatever the special interest is. And that takes time. So to imagine, getting involved and giving every hour of your life to it is going to speed it up is unlikely. So even if you only have a couple hours a week, there are ways, and especially when you're involved in Moms Demand Action where it's full of type A women, we will make
Yes.
the most of your time.
I love that. Can you talk about what does Moms Demand Action as a group do in the face of some of these tragedies, like the Garlic Festival tragedy? Do you go to the vigils? Do you what kind of things do you do other than passing bills, which is very, very important?
Well, often, and because these shooting tragedies are so frequent in this country, it's horrifically unfortunate, but it is when some people decide to get off the sidelines, and we have to take advantage of that opportunity for people to say, enough is enough, I can't take this anymore, I have to do something. And we have created an organization that can absorb large amounts of new volunteers at a time, and we tripled in size after the tragedy in Parkland, Florida. So when these shooting tragedies happen, we encourage people to get involved because that's how you fix this issue. You make sure that there's no longer a silent majority, that we become a vocal majority. And that's part of it is when people sign up, they don't just, they can text ready to 64433, but we don't just send them an email or send them a letter in the mail. We call them and we invite them to something in their area because we know when we lay eyeballs on a new volunteer, they're more likely to stay involved.
Yeah, because it's connection. It's the beauty of what you're doing is there is connection with other moms, with other people who care. And I believe that our media functions, our corporate media functions to keep us disconnected, as does our, social media keeps us disconnected as we think they're keeping us connected. Some of the things, the fact that children were killed at the Garlic Festival, the fact that activists and young moms were killed doing the work that they believed in this weekend and other things that were happening. Those things that were spread across the news is that, it's this community, it's this, the fear that spreads when you hear these stories. I can't bring my children anywhere. It's terrible. It's scary. There's racists. And then, you shouldn't do activism in order to protect yourself because these women did activism and they got shot. These are the take-home messages that are coming out of the corporate media who are reporting on these things or not reporting them at all. What would you say to folks who are watching corporate media when they're watching? What would you say about that?
Make sure you know the facts. I got so angry after the recent shooting in Virginia Beach when Chris Cuomo on CNN was, first of all, having guests on and speculating about what could cause gun violence, as if we don't know.
What could it be?
What could it be? They were talking about video games and people maybe not being kind enough to one another, or polarization. When we look at the data, we know what causes gun violence, and it's easy access to guns. It's why we have such a horrific problem in this country compared to other high-income countries. And then he pivoted to saying, Americans just don't have the will to address this issue. And
What?
it is so, it's so cynical and hopeless and dangerous. And nothing could be further from the truth. I talked about at the top how we are, in fact, winning. And I talked about the fact that we know what causes gun violence. And so part of it is knowing the facts and knowing that we are winning this issue. And really, it is only a matter of election cycles until we get to a place where we have sane gun laws in this country. It really is.
We're speaking with Shannon Watts, founder of Moms Demand Action and also author of Fight Like a Mother, this great book about how a grassroots movement took on the gun lobby. Scary, but awesome, and why women will change the world. We're going to open up the phone line and take a few callers, 212-209-2877. Is that okay with you, Shannon? Let's let the callers chat with you, 212-209-2877. And while we're allowing the callers to come in, I wanted to ask you what you thought about the discussion around guns on the debate last night.
I would have liked to see more discussion about guns last night. I also would like to see, when the candidates are asked a question, about their record or their beliefs or their plans, that they answer it. And too often they're
who
kind of
punted?
allowed to meander.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you're asked a question about your record, then you should answer it. And what I would like to see, some of those candidates up there used to be beholden to the gun lobby. And they've changed their hearts and minds, and that's great, and that's fine. But I want to know more about why. What moved them, and would this be a priority if they were president, a policy priority? And I felt like a lot of the questions from moderators were gotcha questions, and they were looking for real important answers to questions about how, if they were president, they would solve this issue.
Were there any candidates that stood out to you as potential candidates that would be either already in line with what you're looking for or movable?
Well, first of all, it's so important to remember that it is a sea change in American politics, that every person on that stage fully and proudly supports stronger gun laws now. It hasn't always been the case for all those candidates, but they do now. And the same thing for tonight's candidates. And in the past, guns was the third rail of American politics, even for Democrats. So the fact that we have created this grassroots movement that shows lawmakers, when they do the right thing, we'll have their backs, and when they do the wrong thing, we'll have their jobs.
Beautiful.
That has made all the difference.
We're speaking with Shannon Watts. She is the founder of Moms Demand Action and also the author of Fight Like a Mother. Shannon, I think we're having a little trouble with our phone right now, so I'm not going to be able to take the calls, but we will hopefully have you back on. And we didn't schedule you knowing that something would happen. We had already had you scheduled, so I appreciate you coming on our program. And I do appreciate also you donating some books that we can give to our listeners when they are able to make a contribution to keep this kind of talk on the air. We're trying to arm people with information so that they're not so overwhelmed and depressed when they are listening to corporate media. Even if you don't listen to corporate media, it kind of gets in there. Other people are listening, and then they're saying it to you on your family vacation or wherever you are. It just kind of comes in. So being armed with information is the best way to keep yourself, I don't know, to use a Marianne Williamson term, part of the forces of light instead of the forces of darkness. And I appreciate that very, very much. Shannon, final thoughts before we move on today?
I would just encourage anyone who has not gotten involved to get involved. You can do that by texting READY to 64433. And also get educated about your candidates. We make it so easy. Go to gunsensevoter.org and find out where your lawmakers or the people running in 2019 and in 2020 stand on this issue.
gunsensevoter.org. Or now, so you can text READY to 64433. Again, READY to 64433 to become part of Moms Demand Action. And they don't immediately call and ask for money. That's not what this is about.
No,
This is
we
about.
immediately call and ask you to come to an event.
Yes. Oh, I love meeting
Find
other
your
people.
people.
Yeah, find your
Yes.
people. Shannon, thank you so much. I really appreciate you being
Thank
on the
you.
show today. You're listening to WBAI 99.5 FM. We were speaking with Shannon Watts, the founder of Moms Demand Action. Fight Like a Mother is the book. We're able to offer that to you for a pledge of $75 or more this morning. Our pledge line is 516-620-3602, 516-620-3602. Give the number 2 WBAI.org is the way you can do it on the internets. Give the number 2 WBAI.org. Our pledge line again, 516-620-3602. I am missing my co-host. There is an empty space to my left, which is actually on my physical right, but to my left, there's an empty. He says he's my far left-hand man. King Downey is not going to be with us this week. He's out of town, and he will be back with us next week, and I will miss him until then. You're listening to Waking Up on WBAI. We are currently in our pledge drive, and again, we have Fight Like a Mother, the book. I think this is the perfect book to give out at this moment in time because our souls and spirits need it. We have needed it for a long time. The fact that the number of killings that are happening are not being reported. I literally have to find out about killings across the country on Facebook because I guess it's not important enough to keep in the media, the corporate media, every single day. We have to talk about Trump's tweets about Baltimore. Okay, how long was it going to be before he called somewhere here basically an S-hole? I mean, he called other countries an S-hole. Of course he was going to call here an S-hole, somewhere like that. He's a disgusting human being, and everyone knows that. And if he is putting out psychic forces of darkness, people like Shannon Watts, and hopefully people you're listening to here on WBAI, which is why you come to WBAI, are putting out the forces of psychic light. I like that. And we need your support. 516-620-3602. 516-620-3602. Thanks for everyone who has called in during this cycle to make your pledge. We really appreciate it. Give the number 2 WBAI.org. And for a pledge of $75 or more today, you can get the book Fight Like a Mother, Shannon Watts' book, How a Grassroots Movement Took on the Gun Lobby and Why Women Will Change the World. Why women will change the world. We didn't get a chance to talk to her this time about why it is on women to change the world. But if you're a woman, you already know. No, I'm just kidding. But she does speak eloquently about that. And we did talk to her about that the last time she was on. Hopefully she'll be on again with us soon under better circumstances, but we need you to keep the lights on. Keep the lights on here on WBAI and keep the light on in your own heart. Hopefully this book will help you do that. For a pledge of $75, you will be able to have it. Fight Like a Mother, How Grassroots Movement Took on the Gun Lobby and Why Women Will Change the World. That book is by Shannon Watts. It's very uplifting, and it's not just BS uplifting, like if you think positive, everything positive will happen. You'll fix the environment. Well, maybe, but you also have to get out there and act. And that's what Shannon is encouraging us to do. And that's what I'm encouraging you to do today. Please keep this station vibrant with your financial contribution. 516-620-3602. Give the number 2, WBAI.org is the web way to do it. And you can also text WBAI to 41444. That's our fundraising at the bottom of the hour musical break, and then more right after this. You're listening to Waking Up. It's 75 degrees. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Waking Up. That was Snoop Dogg and his daughter. Isn't that lovely? I loved it. You're listening to Waking Up. I'm Julianna Forlano. King is out this week. He will be back. I was out yesterday and the day before, and I missed you terribly. We're going to open up our phone lines to talk about any of the things that we discussed today. 212-209-2877. I have missed talking with you on the telephone. We have had such action-packed shows ever since we got back from Netroots Nation. So now we're opening up those phone lines to hear from you. We've got some storms coming up, possibly severe storms for the Northeast. I see the map is in red from Maine all the way down to Virginia. So that doesn't give you a lot of clarity on where it might happen. But that's, we've got some severe storms on the lookout. It says this afternoon we might get those here and also this evening. It's 76 degrees. They say it's going up. This is all very confusing, these weather things, because they say it's going up to 88. Then when you look at the hourly, it never gets to 88. So who knows what they're talking about? Right now it feels like 76. What with the heat index out there? Humidity is at 77%. That is curl your eyebrows humidity. So take caution on that. The warmest day of the week is going to be Thursday at 89 degrees. Coolest day of the week, Saturday again at 85 degrees. There's a moderate pollen count. It's good running weather. It's high tide. There's not a lot of cold and flu out there. The mosquito index is moderate, and you're not going to need your umbrella till this afternoon. I see the caller line is lighting up. 212-209-2877. Caller, you are on the air.
Yeah, hi. This is Julie from Yonkers.
Hi, Julie. Thanks for the call.
I wanted to call people's attention to what's going on with New York State election security.
Yes, very important.
We are in serious, serious trouble in this state. We've never had a real path to 100% hand count of our ballots. Luckily, we've had verifiable paper ballots. So if someday some candidate could ever get a court to agree to allow a recount, there's a possibility of having them audited.
Yes.
Now, with the serious election security situation we're in, you've got to have auditable ballots.
Absolutely.
New York State election vendors, the people who sell us our voting machines, are telling us that they're no longer willing to maintain the voting machines we have. So
it's like Apple when you buy a computer and then 2 years later they're like, oh, we don't care somehow.
Exactly.
Except this is our democracy at stake.
Sorry to interrupt you. The replacement machines that we are about to be certified or have been certified, there are only two. There's one that's been certified. It's the Dominion Intercivic ICE. It's got a fatal security flaw.
Oh, great.
First of all, it's a combined hybrid printer scanner. So it combines a printer with the ballot scanner. Right now, what we have throughout most of the state, I know we have, and in Westchester certainly, but I think this is true for the whole state, what we have is paper ballots.
Right.
By and large, you write the paper ballot yourself unless you have a disability and you use a ballot marking device. But a ballot marking
Julie,
device incorporates a printer.
Are you working in some area to stop this kind of thing? Is there a group that people?
There's a coalition. I work in an organization called Citizens for Voting Integrity New York.
Excellent.
So you can reach us at cvivoter@gmail.com.
CVIvoter@gmail.com. That's great. It'd be great to have someone from.
Also, you can get much more information about this. We are in a coalition, smartelections.us.
We're gonna do a whole show about this, and we need to keep talking about this issue.
It is so urgent.
Yes, and thank you very much for the call.
Meanwhile, at least Westchester County is insisting, and other locales are insisting, that for early voting, they've got to use these hybrid ballot scanners that slide your ballot after you approve it, after you write it, or if you're
Julie,
you,
I really
that,
appreciate
it
the
goes
phone
under
call,
a
but
printer.
I don't want to cut you off because this is so very important. I appreciate it. We're talking about gun sense and the debate today, but I didn't hear anything in the debate about voter security. It seems like these debates are a waste of time if you're just going to go and they're going to switch your vote at the voting machine. So we are going to do a show or two and continue to keep that on the air. Continue to educate people about what they can do. Go to Citizens for Voting Integrity, I believe, is the group that she was involved in. I'm sure if you Google that, you can find more about it. We will continue to follow that. Thanks, Julie. I appreciate the call. We're talking about gun safety and we're talking about the debates. Today, caller, you are on the air.
Hey, good morning to you.
Hi.
I'm sorry.
No problem.
I already said that.
Who's this?
Artie calling from Queens, New
Hi,
York.
Artie. Hi.
I just wanted to say I heard you earlier mentioning when I saw a video, I'm sure we did, a lot of people did, of the garlic festival out in California, and to see that young father with the baby carriage, and he's running. And you know what I mean? 1 minute you're at a festival, and the next minute you're in a war zone. And to imagine our politicians with the usual, our thoughts and prayers, and all I kept thinking about were those kids in Florida, and I was like 100% behind them, that you can really take your thoughts and prayers and you know what with them. I leave that for the Reverend. Let a politician come up with some laws. But the other
Exactly. They're leaving off something very important. It's supposed to be thoughts, prayers, and actions, and they're leaving off the actions part.
The action. The other thing I wanted to say, I agree with you 100%. I watch some CNN and the other stations, but I am so frustrated if I turn on, let's say, Cuomo, and I'll see let's have the great debate, and it's three heads, usually him, two people who disagree, who are yelling over each other. Sometimes the people he get are the most why would you bring on someone like Kellyanne Conway, if you catch my drift?
I do.
What is the point?
I am very every time I see Cuomo, I'm just further disappointed.
It's just a waste of television space, is my personal feeling when I see something like that. But he's not the only one. There are others who do the exact same thing, and it's business as usual, and I think it's more ratings than anything else.
Well,
Let's
Artie,
just bring on these people.
I appreciate you saying, what you're saying is we need WBAI, so I hope you've given your contribution. Have you given your contribution? We're in our fund drive.
No, yes,
you better
indeed.
call. I'm going to give the number, 516-620-3602. So become a member here. I think it's $10, right? To become, or what is it? Anyway? Yeah. To become a member here. Hey, listen, Artie, thanks for the call. I appreciate it. 516-620-3602 is the pledge line to call in. I know I'm giving out a lot of numbers today. The listener call-in line, the pledge line. If you pledge today at $75, we're giving you a copy of Fight Like a Mother, How a Grassroots Movement Took on the Gun Lobby, Why Women Will Change the World. This is a great read for women and men. Here's the book. I'm holding it up if you're watching on the live stream. It is beautiful. And we don't have a ton of copies, so get in now as soon as you can in order to get that at a gift of $75. It's the perfect day to offer this, and that was just, I talk to King about this off the air all the time. A lot of things happen on this show that are what some might call coincidence and what some might call synchronicity, and the fact that we have this book to offer on a day when our country and our listenership might really need it, and that we were able to have Shannon come on this particular day to have this particular conversation after they're discussing guns in the debate, after this weekend of particularly egregious crimes with guns. And, I haven't heard anyone be like, oh, he was racist, but he did say he was very, very angry and he has white supremacist tendencies, the shooter in the Garlic Festival. So I don't understand why isn't that what racism is? A very angry white supremacist? I mean, come on. I don't see why we're holding back. I don't see why we're not drawing the parallels between Trump's rhetoric and people's action. We need to do that, and we're doing that here on WBAI, and that is why this has to be out there. This kind of talk has to be out there. And we need your support in order to keep this going. So 516-620-3602. Fight Like a Mother. That's Shannon Watts' book that we're giving to you if you can pledge at the $75 level. If you need to pledge at a little lower level, we also have something that's quite fitting with the theme. Tom Hartman, our America's most popular progressive radio host and host right here on WBAI, has his new book out, Guns and the Second Amendment, that we will give you for $25. A gift. That's our gift to you for a pledge of $25. This is, Tom, he's like super in depth and historically informed, and he makes up for the holes in my public education. Anyway, this book will do that for you around guns and the Second Amendment, and we'll offer that to you today also for a pledge of $25 or more. We have some callers still on the line. The caller-listener line is 212-209-2877. Caller, you are on the air. Your name and where you're calling from.
Hi there. Thank you for taking the call. I'm Elle from Long Island.
Hi.
Okay, I was thinking when I heard about the shooting in Harlem, the senior party.
Yes.
Okay, and just like it was automatic, like a flash, it was stated gang-related. And I thought back to Fred Hampton when he was murdered in Chicago, and the fact that there was a undercover agent who drugged him, who set him up, who did the dirty work so that the police could come and kill him. And then I heard of the Olive tragedy, Olive Festival tragedy. No, excuse me,
garlic,
it was,
garlic.
Not olives, but
Garlic.
Yes. Tragedy. And I said to myself, and it was like almost the next day, there is something, manufactured consent, a book, okay?
Yeah, we know
and
that.
I'm saying, why can't you have manufactured events to bring up the results or the events that you want to be at that time? So I'm just throwing it out there to the listening audience, and perhaps someone can comment on it, that perhaps everything that we hear, especially when it's done without investigation and we believe,
You're right.
and if you repeat it over and over again,
It becomes a truth.
your truth.
Thank you, Al. That's a very important point. The fact is, not all of the gun violence is covered, as I said, and yeah, there's so much to unpack there. Let the listeners do it if you want to call in. But I do have a piece that I'd like to play for you. It is done by our very own Celeste Katz from Driving Forces. This is about Bill de Blasio's run, and I believe he's going to be on the debate stage tonight. This is Celeste. Celeste put a piece together, and we're going to listen to the beginning of that piece about how New Yorkers feel that Bill de Blasio is out on the campaign trail. Here it is.
Bill de Blasio has been traveling the country to let
It's going to be about a lot of things, but one of the things is going to be about actually serving people every day and making sure their lives get better, and not talk but action. And I just want to say we mayors know all about that.
Seeing things that I may never see again. I can't wait to get on the road again.
But some New Yorkers say they're not so sure he's even making that good of a mayor. It probably didn't help that when Gotham recently got hit by a major blackout, de Blasio ended up having to defend the job he did overseeing the recovery from out on the campaign trail in Iowa, over 1,000 miles away from City Hall. CNN's Jake Tapper was just one of those who confronted the mayor about being out on the stump during the crisis, instead of here with the people who elected him to run the show.
What do you say to his constituents who say, hey, we elected you to run New York City, not to go to Iowa for a quixotic presidential campaign?
Jake, I'm responsible for making sure that everything in New York City is handled quickly, handled well. I want to say the whole team responded immediately the way everyone's been trained to do. We had top officials on the site coordinating the response. First responders were there quickly, got a lot of information out to people. When you're a mayor or a governor, you're going to travel for a variety of reasons. The important thing is to have the hand on the wheel, make sure things are moving effectively, and communicate to people. Even from where I was able to do that right away with the people in New York City.
It wasn't the only time de Blasio argued he'd done right by his city, and it hasn't kept him off the road. But people taking a break in sunny Madison Square Park not long ago had no problem throwing shade at the mayor's quest to become the next president.
Oh my God! Isn't the one we have bad enough?
Marie, who lives in Manhattan, got a big laugh out of the thought of de Blasio even imagining himself in the Oval Office.
That won't last long. Really? He won't get money. I mean, everybody knows he's I'm being nice, he's a lame duck mayor. Is his ego that large? Apparently so. I mean, does he listen to the news? Does he listen to his PR and marketing? I mean, he can't not know that he's a lame duck. And what makes him think that he could get elected president? Especially with all the other incredibly capable people that are running.
A few park benches down, Jerry from Brooklyn wasn't exactly stocking up on de Blasio for president t-shirts either.
I don't like him as a mayor to begin with, so I don't think I'm going to like him as a president. His policies or his stance on a lot of issues, dealing with educational issues, criminal issues, they affect me, but he's not really paying attention to them. He's not really doing anything about them, and those are the things that really affect me the most. I got nieces and nephews, and criminal justice system, of course, affects people from my community. So those are the things that matter to me, and he's not really paying attention to them, so I'm not paying attention to him.
Not only did Jerry say de Blasio can't make it to the White House, he can't see how he can pull off being a mayor and being a national candidate at the same time.
No, it's impossible. It's a hard enough job to run one office. You're going to try to do two at the same. No, don't make no sense. That doesn't make any sense.
Morris, from the East Side, went even further. He predicts Trump will win a second term, partly because the Democratic field is so overcrowded with long-shot candidates like Bill de Blasio.
Right or wrong, I think Trump is going to win by a landslide, because I think the Democrats are mired in themselves and weaken themselves because people like Bill de Blasio that have a 1% sort of approval rating amongst 20 other players in the field. I think they would do best with like 5 people running.
Thank you, Celeste. And there's more to that piece. I'm sure you can find that on our website, WBAI.org. Guess what? People are running for president even though they know they're not going to be president. There is a big popular stage. You can say presidential candidate after your name. You can get speaking fees. You might get the vice. There's a lot of reasons. You might get a cabinet position. A lot of reasons to run for president, even if you're not going to actually run for president. And that's what we're seeing right now. So let's be smart about what we're watching. We have callers on the line. Let's try to get one in before the end of the show. Caller, you are on the air. Your name and where you're calling from.
Good morning.
Hi.
Yeah, I see Amy Goodman's coming on. I think I'm the last caller.
Hurry up. What do you want to say?
That's what I'm saying. Oh, not to mention the shooting in Brooklyn, too. I mean, that's ridiculous. I mean, how is it they're having a festival and this happens?
Yeah, I don't know.
Believe that? I mean, this is ridiculous. But East New York,
I'm afraid to go to festivals. I'm afraid to go anywhere now.
Yeah, exactly. It's like this stuff never ends. Yeah, but, de Blasio, he tries to play both sides of the fence. Like he has, he has a mixed family, but yet still, look at the Eric Garner's situation, who is a black man. Your wife is black. You think that you'd have some affectionism towards, people of color. Why is Pantaleo still working?
That is a good question.
But that's a lot of work, man, to be a mayor and then you want to run for president, Like he was in Iowa a few weeks ago, right? Or something like that.
Yep.
That's 1,500 miles away from him, maybe more than that.
I mean, they all do it. Sanders is a senator, and he's running for everyone who runs for president. Even the president is being the president and also running for president. So they're all doing it. It's not just one guy who's doing it. It's not like one guy is taking a break from his job to go run for president. They're all doing it. If you're going to run, that's what they're doing. I question.
He's still going strong.
Let
me get out of here.
No. I appreciate the call, and I wanted to talk to you about something. My thought is that Jake Tapper asking that question, how do you think New York, and then all the New Yorkers are like, yeah, it's baloney. But haven't we thought that every single person running for president is leaving, some job? And I don't. He's got a staff. Not, I'm not saying de Blasio is my favorite candidate, but even my favorite candidate is leaving his job sometimes to go on the stump, or leaving her job sometimes to go on the stump to run. And they have a staff. So let's not be silly. And it just feeds right into Jake Tapper. Jake Tapper turning. If something comes out of Jake Tapper's mouth, we should immediately question it. Oh, de Blasio, you're leaving New York City all alone while you're out here on the stump. Well, aren't all the other candidates doing the same thing? Hey, thanks for listening. And thanks for the calls. I missed you callers. I see that there's more callers coming in, but we're at the end of our show. Tomorrow, Richard Wolf is joining us. We're talking about labor. We got a lot of stuff for you coming up this week. It's going to be a good time. I'm here, God willing, through the rest of the week, and hopefully so will you be. Don't forget to get your pledge in today, 516-620-3602, or give the number 2, WBAI.org. Fight Like a Mother is a book you can get for our gift if you can make your pledge of $75 or more, or we can give you Tom Hartman's book for a pledge of $25. That's Guns and the Second Amendment. That's a secret history book, my favorite kind. Hey, thanks everybody for listening. I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.
WBAI is not only a progressive free speech radio station, but it is also your opportunity for several perks through the BAI